I'm giving my thoughts about the Gears 6 announcement, Gears of War E-Day. They just dropped the trailer a few hours ago, and I wanted to do something because I'm a huge Gears fan, and you know, with some franchises and stuff that I'm excited about and big fans of, I'm a big fan of. I want to kind of give my thoughts and see what other fans think about it, And I thought about maybe doing like a fully fledged video for it and stuff, like and sitting down and editing it, but I don't really have time for that. But I want to get my thoughts down and upload it and see what other people think. Okay. So, what are my thoughts about seeing the Gears of War E-Day? Well, one, I'm glad that they, instead of shortening it to Gears, they went back to Gears of War. Um, you know, I think fans call it Gears just because it's simpler, but it needs to remain Gears of War. I forgot who made that critique from what YouTuber made that critique that was talking about it, but I think that's a pretty fair assessment. So I'm glad that they switched that back. Um, we didn't get any gameplay, but you kind of have an idea already of what the gameplay is going to be like. Now, if they innovate on it, I mean, we'll see what happens with that sort of thing. Could be interesting. From the trailer, though, because it's just a CGI trailer, I like the vibe of it. And which brings me to the main thought that I've had, which is putting back some of the horror elements into the game, and keeping that dark tone, because it's the first Gears sort of had that same vibe as that. It had horror elements. It wasn't a horror game, but it had horror elements. You know what I mean? And it really kind of heightened the survival thing in the sense of like trying to just survive and trying to save the day and save humanity. And I think if they're going back as a prequel to the events of E-Day, I think you could even go further into that thing, because it's just like, just think about how crazy it would be in real life. It's just this foreign, uh, these creatures just came up from underneath us and started taking over everything. Like it'd be crazy, and a lot of people would be scared, And I think if they just lean into that, they really, go stick with that vibe and that theme, I think that would make it really awesome and be a nice returning back to roots and focusing on that element even more than the original did. Because that would be a very original. Like, have an action game, kind of like in the vein of Aliens. What I want is that they need to emphasize, like, they don't have to make it a horror game, but they would do a really good, like, it would be really cool if they put a little bit more attention and kind of to get that same horror elements as they did in the first one, if not more so. And what else? As far as, I mean, we don't know, but as far as the multiplayer goes, I don't know, because you have to like, because Gears is in a weird spot. It's been in a weird spot the last couple of years. I'm just excited that they're keeping it alive, and the trailer is promising just because of what the vibe it presents. Now, when we get further, when we get a release date and more actual gameplay trailers, we'll actually be able to see if it actually holds up and it matches with what the trailer is. And the other thing about the trailer that I love, that kind of goes into like more of what I was saying about the horror elements. They made that grunt locust, like, that thing was a freaking tank, man. Do you see how he just bench pressed Marcus Phoenix? He just bench pressed Marcus up into the ceiling. That was crazy. That was awesome. And you could just see like this regular general locust, like, he's not nothing special about him. He's just a grunt, and you just see how intimidating he is. And it's like, yeah, that's like that's insane. That's awesome, because it really makes them a formidable foe. You know what I mean? And Yeah, yeah. It's a good. It's a really. I really hope that that they were very intentional with all these details and stuff, and it's present in the final product and in the game because I think it could be so awesome. Here's the other thing too. I have to go. I haven't read the comics. I've watched videos that explain the comics and the lore and the backstory, the pendulum war, stuff like that. I don't know it off the top of my head, but now I kind of have an interest in going back and maybe getting those comic books and studying up on that lore. But for the story, I hope they don't retcon certain things and they literally could just the lore is very rich. It's very rich. There's a lot of detail to it. You don't need to go in and make something new. Honestly, you could just go with the comic books, study up on the lore, and just make it lore accurate. And you could just take a couple of stories from the comic books and stuff of that are around E-Day's time, and just adapt that to the video game. You know what I mean? That's all the hard work done for you. I mean, you have to like figure out the dialogue and how that works mechanically with the gameplay and stuff. But I feel like just having that lore and that backstory already there just simplifies it, even more to me. Um, so yeah, I really hope that they don't screw around with things and they don't retcon things and show respect to the previously established lore and with the story and the horror, adding the horror elements and stuff like that. It could be a really strong game. Now with the multiplayer and stuff like that, we'll see. We'll see about that. I I didn't mind Gears 5's multiplayer. I played it quite a bit. Um, I feel like now my favorite multiplayer probably is Gears 3. And I felt like it was just the right amount of speed to it. Okay? Like Gears of 1, very clunky game. Very clunky. Um, I played a little bit of the multiplayer originally from the 360 days, and they improved on it a lot from Gears 1 to Gears 3. And between Gears 4, Gears 5, they only have sped it up even more. I would personally like, even though I don't think that they would do it, just to cater to the esports crowd. Um, I would personally like if they just slow it down a little bit. Just slow down the movement speed a little bit, and just don't make it so much about wall bouncing and only using Nashers and crap like that. That's me personally, but do I think they'll do that? I don't think so. Horde mode, it's really hard to go bad and go wrong with horde mode. Because they, it's been present in the series since the beginning, so it's like you don't really need to don't break anything that doesn't need to be fixed. Okay. Um, and yeah, just kind of like as an overall take, the Gears 5 really divided the fan base. Um, I'll have to go back and play it. Originally, I wasn't that pissed off or I wasn't that offended or about the story and what it did with JD and with Kate and stuff like that. I haven't played it in many years, but um, going back and looking at some reviews and critiques um, that are more recent, um, a lot of people didn't like Gears 5 and what it did with the story and how it treated Marcus and things like that. And I can understand. Um, I can understand that. You know what I mean? I would have to go back and play it and really see it for myself to get my own sort of critique on it. But um, yeah, I think this was a pretty good move. This might have been a better move than doing flat out Gears 6. Because Gears 5 divided, whether you like it or not, it was divisive. Okay? For in many aspects. The multiplayer, the season pass, the story, things like that. It was very divisive, and I feel like it it's good to have the prequel because there's a lot more story there that could be told, and you could kind of switch up the tone back to its roots, um, and and I think maybe it's good to do this before we actually get an actual direct sequel with Gears 6 and going back to JD, going back to Kate and Marcus, older Marcus and stuff like that. I think that this is good. And I think they probably did it maybe just to be like, because up until this point, Gears has been in a little bit of a weird spot. You know what I mean? It's not the juggernaut franchise that it used to be. I'm just being honest. You know what I mean? But I mean, it still has lots of fans, and I think probably they went. The prequel is probably the safer option because again, there's so much lore, rich history, and story there. All you have to do is just go and adapt it to a video game, and the probably just did it to kind of get like it's like kind of like a warm up to actually getting Gear 6 and what they do with that game, um, which I think is a good move. And I think maybe if this game is good and like the fan like they do right by the fans. Assuming the coalition is still developing it. If they do right by the fans and like they respect the IP and stuff like that, it could be it could potentially get Gears back on track to being the powerhouse and return to its former glory as a franchise. Um, and yeah. Overall, I'm pretty excited, even though it's just a CGI trailer. I I really liked it. It was dark, it was serious, it was bleak, and yeah, it's awesome. It kind of reminded me like that fight in Saving Private Ryan where I don't know. If you've seen the movie, you know which one it is. But I love that feeling for the franchise. It's perfect. And yeah, I'm really excited, and I can't wait to see some actual gameplay, to have a little bit more of an idea of the story beats, I guess, and just learning more about the game and its development and stuff. And yeah, so yeah, I think that about sums up my thoughts on it. What are your guys' thoughts? Do you like Gears of War? Are you a fan? Did you like Gears 5? Did you not like it? And what do you hope that they do or don't do with Gears of War E-Day? Comment down below. Let me know. And if you like this sort of video where I give my thoughts on certain video games and stuff like that, let me know, and I could do some more on other games and franchises that I think are interesting. Um, and so yeah, and also please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And I will catch you on the next one. And as always, shishikada.